I asked on my Instagram story if you guys would want to see a video series of how I make my cakes step by step. So that is what I'm doing today. I'm starting with 2 sticks of softened butter, 2 cups of sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm combining that and beating it for a couple minutes until it's fluffy. Now I'm adding 4 eggs, 2 at a time, and beating in between. Make sure to always scrape down the sides of your bowl to combine everything. I'm adding my last 2 eggs and mixing it until it's thoroughly combined. Scraping down the sides of my bowl again, and now I'm sifting together my dry ingredients. 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, 2½ teaspoons of baking powder, and ½ a teaspoon of salt. Now I'm sifting that all together and then measuring out 1 cup of whole milk. To my butter, I'm alternating the dry ingredients and the milk. Make sure you always start and end with the flour mixture. The dry ingredients help the batter to come together. Now I'm mixing that just until everything is combined. Make sure you don't overmix. Now here's your vanilla batter all complete. In the next video, I'll show you guys how to measure out and bake your cakes. This is part two of my series showing you guys how to bake a cake start to finish. Here I have my vanilla cake batter that I showed you guys how to make in my last video. Now I'm using some baking spray and parchment paper rounds to keep my cake from sticking. Here I'm spraying my 3 Wilton 6-inch pans and putting the parchment paper on the bottom. Now I'm separating my batter into my pans, and you can do this by eye, but what I do to get them perfectly even is weigh them out on an electric scale. I add up all the measurements and then divide it by 3 and then distribute my batter. I'm banging that on the table to get rid of air bubbles and flatten them out. Now I'm baking them in a 350-degree oven for 45 to 50 minutes. Once they come out of the oven, I test it with a toothpick, and if it comes out clean, then they're done. Now I'm making my American buttercream. First, I'm whipping softened, unsalted butter until it becomes white and creamy. My favorite powdered sugar is C&H. I added that to my butter, and as you can see, I added a little bit too much, so I'm adding 1 more stick of softened butter, a pinch of salt, a couple teaspoons of vanilla, and a couple tablespoons of milk or cream, and you are done. So after your cakes have been out of the oven for a few hours, it's time to level them. I run my serrated knife along the top edge of my cake pan to level my cakes. Super easy and perfect every time. Now it's time for simple syrup. It's just a 1-to-1 ratio of hot water and sugar. I'm pouring this in my squeeze bottle, taking my cakes out, and then showering this over my vanilla cake. This is a super easy way to keep your cakes moist. I'm taking a piece of a mesh nonstick liner and putting it under my 6-inch cake board. Now to stop the cakes from slipping, I'm putting a little bit of my buttercream on the board, putting my first cake down and pushing it down so it sticks. I cut off the overbaked edges so you can't see it through the frosting. Next, I'm filling up a piping bag. You can use disposable ones. Right here I'm using a reusable one. I'm gonna roll the bag over onto itself, and a good trick is to put it in a cup and then fill it with frosting. This makes it easy if you have a lot of frosting to put in the bag. You want to twist the bag and cup it around your hand. While spinning my turntable, I'm piping a border along the edge of my cake. This is to keep the filling in, which is strawberries. Now I'm stacking my middle layer and repeating that process. So once your cake is stacked and filled, you want to crumb coat it. A crumb coat is a thin layer of icing around your cake to catch all the crumbs. Now we're going to use my best friend an acrylic cake disc. I'll link the video that taught me how to use these in the comments. It's kind of a learning curve at first, but once you get used to it, it's a game changer. So after your cake is iced and been in the freezer for about 30 minutes, it's time to take off the acrylic board. I flip the cake over, then pop off the bottom with a thin knife, flip it back over in between 2 boards, and then pry off the top acrylic. Remember, your cake has to be very cold to